not true. He was short of few more months to at 40 years. Before that, he died. So there are certain things, or so many, the chronological way we can see how he had been guiding or a lot of activities of Vivekananda. What we shall see is the contribution which he has made in order to remember him in India, the world outside. So what are Vivekananda's contribution to world culture? So he became instantly famous from the very fact that he went to address the World Parliament of Religions. There he represented India and he spoke very well. And he was a worthy representative of India who held up the credit or the honor of India. So Vivekananda's contribution to world culture. Making an objective assessment of Vivekananda's contribution to the world culture, the eminent British historian A.L. Basham stated that in centuries to come, he will be remembered as one of the main molders of the modern world. Some of the main contributions that Vivekananda made to the modern world are the following. First one, new understanding of religion. One of the most significant contributions of Swami Vivekananda to the modern world is his interpretation of religion as a universal experience of transcendent reality common to all humanity. That is the way he interpreted religion. He said that the world is Swami Vivekananda to the modern world is the contribution, what we can say. The new understanding of religion is that religion is a universal experience of transcendent reality common to all humanity. Vivekananda met the challenge of modern science by showing that religion is scientific as science itself. Religion is the science of consciousness. As such, religion and science are not contradictory to each other, but they are complementary. This universal conception frees religion from the hold of superstitions, dogmatism, priestcraft and intolerance, and makes religion the highest and the noblest pursuit. The pursuit of supreme freedom, supreme knowledge, supreme happiness. So that is the new understanding of religion. So it is not to be limited to the narrow-mindedness of rituals or the priestcraft, superstition and all that. It has got a wider range, that is of the pursuit of supreme freedom, supreme knowledge and supreme happiness. The second contribution to the world culture is the new view of man. New view of man. Vivekananda's concept of potential divinity of the soul gives a new ennobling concept of man. The present age is the age of humanism, which holds that man should be the chief concern and center of all activities and thinking. Through science and technology, man has attained great prosperity and power, and modern methods of communication and travel have converted human society into a global village. But the degradation of man has also been going on apace, as witnessed by the enormous increase in broken homes, immorality, violence, crime, etc. In modern society, Vivekananda's concept of potential divinity of the soul prevents this degradation, divinizes human relationship, and makes life meaningful and worth living. Vivekananda has laid the foundation for spiritual humanism, which is manifesting itself through several neo-humanistic movements and current interest in meditation, Zen, etc., all over the world. So first contribution he has made is the new understanding of religion. Second contribution, new view of man. What is man? So is he a mere creature, or is just like any other creation? But he says it is that is his concept of man is that potential divinity of the soul. That man has a potential divinity of the soul, gives a new ennobling concept of man. The present age is an age of humanism which holds that man should be the chief and center of all activities and thinking. So man becomes the center, and therefore a great lot or a new awareness or awakening to the concept of man. And there is also on the other side, he shows the degradation of man. He has also been going at a great phase, that is, as witnessed by the enormous increase of broken families, broken homes, immorality, violence, crime, etc. is a very degrading. So Vivekananda's concept of potential divinity of the soul prevents this degradation, divinizes human relationship, and makes life meaningful and worth living. So something beautiful for every human person. The third contribution to the world culture is that new principle of morality and ethics. New principle of morality and ethics. The prevalent morality in both individual life and social life is mostly based on fear. Fear of the police, fear of the public, ridicule, fear of God's punishment, fear of karma, and so on. The current theories of ethics also do not explain why a person should be moral and be good to others. Vivekananda has given a new theory of ethics and a new principle of morality based on the intrinsic purity and oneness of Atman. We should be pure because purity is the real nature, our true divine self of Atman. Similarly, we should love and serve our neighbor because we are all one in the Supreme. We are all one in the Supreme Spirit known as Paramatman or Brahman. So that is the third aspect is about a new principle of morality and ethics. All the time we can see that the morality and ethics is controlled by the sense of fear. The sense of fear, the fear of the police, the fear of the public ridicule, fear of the punishment of God. These had been the things making you to observe certain rules or regulations. But the current theories also, the ethics also do not explain why should a man be moral and do good to others. Vivekananda has given a new theory of ethics, a new principle of morality based on the intrinsic purity of oneness of the Atman. We should be pure because purity is our real nature, our true divine self or Atman. Similarly, we should love and serve our neighbor because we are all one in the Supreme Spirit known as Paramatman or Brahman. The very reason. So it should be based on love and not fear. The fourth contribution to the world culture is that a bridge between East and the West. Another great contribution of Swami Vivekananda was to build a bridge between Indian culture and Western culture. He did it by interpreting Hindu scriptures and philosophy and the Hindu way of life and institutions to Western people in an idiom which they could understand. He made the Western people realize that they had to learn much from Indian spirituality for their own well-being. He showed that in spite of her poverty and backwardness, India had a great contribution to make to the world culture. In this way, he was instrumental in ending India's cultural isolation from the rest of the world. He was India's first great cultural ambassador to the West. On the other hand, Swamiji's interpretation of ancient Hindu scriptures, philosophy, institutions, etc., prepared the mind of the Indians to accept and apply in practical life to two best elements of Western culture, namely science and technology and humanism. Swami Vivekananda has taught Indians how to master Western science and technology and at the same time develop spirituality. Swami Vivekananda has taught Indians how to adapt Western humanism, especially the ideas of individual freedom, social equality and justice and respect for women to Indian ethos. So there are four areas where Vivekananda has made a contribution to the world culture. First one, a new understanding of the religion. Two, new view of man. Third, new principle of morality and ethics. And four, a bridge between East and the West. Now, what specific contribution has he made to India? In spite of her innumerable linguistic, ethnic, historical and regional diversities, India has had from time immemorial a strong sense of cultural unity. It was, however, Swami Vivekananda who revealed the true foundations of this culture and thus clearly defined and strengthened the sense of unity as a nation. Swamiji gave Indians proper understanding of their country's great spiritual heritage and thus gave them pride in their past. Furthermore, he pointed out to Indians the drawbacks of Western culture and the need for India's contribution to overcome these drawbacks. In this way, Swamiji made India a nation with global mission. The specific contribution to India, we can say that it was a renewal of what she is. It was, however, Swami Vivekananda who revealed the true foundations of this culture and thus clearly defined and strengthened the sense of unity as a nation. Sense of unity, pride in the past, sense of mission. These were the factors which gave real strength and purpose to India's nationalist movement. Several eminent leaders of India's freedom movement have acknowledged their indebtedness to Swami Vivekananda. Free India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru wrote, "Rooted in the past, Full of pride in India's prestige, Vivekananda was yet modern in his approach to life's problems and was a kind of bridge between the past of India and her present. He came as a tonic to the problems and was a kind of he came as a tonic to the depressed and demoralized Hindu mind and gave it self-reliance and some roots in the past. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose wrote, Swamiji harmonized the East and the West, religion and science, past and present, and that's why he is great. Our countrymen have gained unprecedented self-respect, self-reliance, and self-assertion from his teachings. Vivekananda's most unique contribution to the creation of New India was to open the minds of Indians to their duty to downtrodden masses. Long before the ideas of Karl Marx were known in India, Swami Vivekananda spoke about the role of the laboring classes in the production of country's wealth. Swamiji was the first religious leader in India to speak for masses, formulate definite philosophy of service, and organize large-scale social service. So the specific contribution to India, we can say that he opened up the mind of the Indians, mainly with the idea of that self-respect, self-reliance, and this became very handy tool for the later reformers or the freedom movement to get them around or to help them to gather Indians under one banner, because already these ideals or ideas had instilled in them a kind of the real strength or the unity in them. The contribution of Swamiji or Swami Vivekananda to Hinduism. So on three bases we are seeing: to the world culture, to India, and particularly to Hinduism. What were the contribution he made? First one, identity. It was Swami Vivekananda who gave to Hinduism as a whole clear-cut identity, a distinct profile. Before Vivekananda came, Hinduism was a loose confederation of many different groups and sects. Swamiji was the first religious leader to speak about the common basis of Hinduism and the common ground of all groups or sects. He was the first person, as guided by his master Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, to accept all Hindu doctrines and the views of all Hindu philosophers and different groups and different aspects of the total view of reality and way of life known as Hinduism. Speaking about Vivekananda's role in giving Hinduism a distinct identity, Sister Nivedita wrote, "It may be said that when he began to speak, it was of the religious ideas of Hindus, but when he ended, Hinduism had been created." So first contribution of Swami Vivekananda to Hinduism is the identity or a distinct profile. Second contribution is the unification. Before Vivekananda came, there was a lot of quarrel and a competition among the various groups, sects of Hinduism. Similarly, the protagonists of different systems and schools of philosophy were claiming that their views to be the only true valid ones. By applying Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's doctrine of harmony, Samavaya, Swamiji brought about an overall unification of Hinduism on the basis of the principle of unity in diversity. Speaking about Swamiji's role in this field, K.M. Panikkar, the eminent historian and diplomat, wrote, "The new Shankaracharya may well be claimed to be the unifier of Hindu ideology." The third contribution to Hinduism by Vivekananda is the defense. Another important service rendered by Swami Vivekananda was to raise his voice in defense of Hinduism. In fact, this was one of the main types of works he did in the West. Christian missionary propaganda had given a wrong understanding of Hinduism and India in Western minds. Swami Vivekananda had to face a lot of opposition in his attempts to defend Hinduism. The fourth contribution to Hinduism is meeting the challenges. At the end of the 19th century, India in general and Hinduism in particular faced grave challenges from Western materialistic life, the ideas of Western free society, and proselytizing activities of Christians. Vivekananda met these challenges by integrating the best elements of Western culture and Hindu culture. The fifth contribution made by Swami Vivekananda to Hinduism, new ideal of monasticism. A major contribution of Vivekananda to Hinduism is the rejuvenation and the modernization of monasticism. In this new monastic ideal, followed in the Ramakrishna order, the ancient principles of renunciation and God realization are combined with service to God in man. The ancient principles of renunciation and God realization combined with the service in man. Vivekananda elevated social service to the status of divine service. Sixth contribution of Swami Vivekananda to Hinduism is refurbishing of Hindu philosophy and religious doctrines, or renovating or renewing Hindu philosophy and religious doctrines. Vivekananda did not merely interpret ancient Hindu scriptures and philosophical ideas in terms of modern thought. He also added several illuminating original concepts based on his own transcendental experiences and vision of the future. So we can see the contributions which he has, specific contribution which he has made. The first one I should insist is that he instilled in the minds of the Indians a self-respect, self-esteem, which was very, very low due to the years of oppression, that is the religious oppression, the supremacy of the Brahmins, and then the lower classes had no power at all, or they had no privilege, no power, no right, only duties they had. And then came the oppression, the colonial oppression. So due to this too prolonged oppression, Indians had lost faith in themselves. They thought their situation is beyond redemption. So Swami Vivekananda, during his trips through the width and breadth of India, came to know what is really the crux of the problem, the poverty and the low self-esteem. So his whole attention was how to instill in Indians that self-esteem and how to alleviate poverty. And we see him how he wanted to travel to America first to represent India and to use the best platform available, that is the World Parliament of Religions, and he addressed in representing India, and he did it very well, and that made him instantly famous. Another fact or the idea or the motto of his going over to USA was to raise some funds to alleviate the appalling poverty of the Indians. To a great extent he succeeded, and then his contribution to the world culture, to India, to the Hinduism itself. So on 3 levels we can see the contribution which he has made, and this contribution of his, that is instilling in faith, real faith or self-esteem in the Indians, that made a big step, a leap for the later freedom fighters to get them together around in order to join them together to fight for their right, that is the Swaraj, and to work for the freedom movement. So this is the contribution made by Vivekananda, a great soul, a worthy Indian who has done or achieved great lot, just short of few months to 40 years. Tremendous life, tremendous impact, a religious renewal that he has brought about, a new thought and the service. One important factor is that is service of God is the service of man. So you will find God in that service of man. So bringing it to that is Madhava Seva, Manava Seva, that is a joy, putting it together. So this is a beautiful contribution which Swami Vivekananda has made, and he has made Indians proud to be a proud Indian and taking pride in the past what he had, and then bringing or making a bridge between the East and the West. Of all what was good there, he has brought and helped the Indians to assimilate it well and thus to grow better. So this contribution he has made, and he remains, or his thoughts, the way he worked and the way he conducted himself, it remains still a legacy which he has left behind.